This is a quick video about two characteristics of Steve Harris's playing which can be easily overlooked and I find are quite often missed by bass players covering his parts. The first thing is that Steve will very often play open strings in between chord changes. For example, from The Evil That Men Do. There's the open A in between the E and the C. Same thing happens in Lost for Words. And he'll do it as well if he's changing strings. This is from Seventh Son. There's the open E there. Now it's important to note that most of the time these open strings are passing notes which are there to facilitate a smooth transition from one position to another. They're not a part of the actual musical content of the bass line, and so they're not necessarily emphasized, and they can be a bit in the background, but they affect the feel of the part much more than the sound of it. But if you do pick up on this when you're learning Steve's lines, you'll find that they do become a lot smoother to play. They sit a lot more naturally. The open string almost adds a little breath in there, a little moment of space. So the second thing is, contrary to popular opinion, Steve doesn't fill up every space in every measure with notes. Even in a busy bass line, he will include some sustained notes and some rests. And he'll sometimes cut phrases off before the point they would normally end in order to transition to a different position on the neck. So, for example, from Evil That Men Do again, the phrase starts off like this. It's not from the beginning. He sustains the first note. To use another example from Seventh Son, that phrase usually ends on that B. When he's ready to move up to the next part of the track, he ends it here on the C sharp. So he leaves that little gap there, misses that note out in order to keep it nice and smooth and move up to a different position. So the perfect example of both these things in one part is from The Trooper, which a lot of people play incorrectly. So the line starts off like this. Again, it's not just galloping straight from the beginning, it's... And then we have an open string before the little turnaround D-G phrase. And again, I may be emphasising that open A a little more than it is on the original track because I'm using it as an example, but it's much more about how it affects the feel of the whole thing rather than being a stated note, if you like. So if you do want to learn Steve's parts with real accuracy, listen out carefully for these things because they do occur a lot.